Hi, welcome back to PracticalStudent.com. So this is the start of a new project. So in this video I'm going to have an introduction to the project itself and part 1. So it's the 2005 Ordinary Level Junior Cert project and it is a desk fan. The base is made from 5mm Perspex or acrylic, which I'm going to use black. We have 2 side supports. We're going to make them out of brass. They're identical marking out, but you just bend the base the opposite direction. The motor support, which goes up here, I'm going to make out of 3mm red Perspex. The switch support is going to be made out of 1mm brass. Now in the diagram and in the test itself you had to use a push to make switch, which means that if you press the button the fan comes on, but as soon as you let go of the button the fan goes off. So I'm going to change that to a toggle switch so that the fan will stay on all the time until you turn it off. The safety cover here is made out of clear acrylic, which I have here, and the fan guard around the back there is made out of aluminium. The battery fits into the back of the motor support, so there's no need to worry about a battery holder. The only thing you had to design on this was a fan blade itself. So we'll be looking at that as the last part before electronics and assembly. Electronics are quite easy, there's nothing too complicated, and it's a nice little project. Okay, so on to marking out part 1 and completing it. Okay, so to the marking out and manufacturing of part 1. It's the aluminium piece, 1.5 thick. I've already covered it in blue to assist with your viewing of the marking out. We don't need too many tools because it's not too complicated. We have a scriber, ruler, dividers because there's 2 little curves on it, punches for the holes, hammer, file. The 4 holes that are drilled are 3.5 drill bit. We have to bend it then here and then bend it into a curve shape, which we'll do at the end after we've shaped it and everything is okay. As usual, the working drawing will be linked in the description along with the project page. So I'm just going to quickly check which of my corners I like, if they're good enough for marking out from. That one's pretty okay there. And that's 90 degrees as well. So I'm going to start off in this bottom left corner and work my way across. Excuse me. So basically we're going to start here. The first notable line is this distance in. Now it isn't on this drawing, so I'll have the drawing in the description corrected, but this distance at the end is 5 as well. This is a radius 5 curve. So this is 5, 15 plus 5, which is 25. Then it's 245 up to here, and then another 25. So I'm going to mark those first of all. From the corner, 25mm, mark that. 25 plus 245 is 270. I'm going to mark that, and I'm keeping my ruler at the end here. 270 plus another 25 is 295. Got to T-score those 3 marks. The material is thin, so we need to pick it up to use our T-score properly. So we have the 3 different sections now. The next thing I'm going to look at is the overall height here. My piece of metal is currently 26mm. No, it's exactly 25. So when I was cutting this, I must have taken that into account. So this piece of metal is 25 high. If it wasn't, I just measure up 25 at this end and at the opposite end and draw a line across. But thankfully I don't have to worry about that. So the next thing I need to find are the centres of these 4 holes. So it's 5 in from the edge or 5 from the bend line, and we're told here 5mm down from the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure down 5 and down 5, draw a line across, and then measure in the distances there. So 5 millimeters from the top marked here. I'm going to do the same at the other end and then join them up with a ruler. This ruler. Hold your ruler down firmly when you're doing long lines. And there we go. Now, the next thing is to mark the centre of the hole. So it's 5 millimeters from the bend line out and then another 15. So I'm going to measure the end of the ruler on the line. And I'm going to mark from there 5 millimeters and 20. And the same on the other side. Going to mark 5 millimeters and 20. Now to punch the 4 of those gently, we don't want to punch through the metal, gently and accurately. One last thing to do when, one last thing to do when marking out, we want to do little curves on both ends, and they are radius 5. So I'm going to set my dividers to 5 millimeters. And draw the curves at both ends. And that is it. I'm actually going to add in the center line here. It will help me later on when I'm trying to bend this, or it may help me. So 245 divided by 2 is 122 and a half. So I'm just going to draw a line at 122 and a half. Now it may not help me in the end, but I have it there anyway, just in case. So, what do we have to do now? I'm going to cut off this on the shears, the guillotine, just this section at the end. I will then drill the 4 holes. I'll do the cutting off camera, and I'll show you drilling the holes, and then a quick little file of the corners, and then we're ready to bend it into the curved shape. So I'm going to drill these 4 holes with a 3.5 drill bit, and I'm using a hand vise just to hold a piece of metal while I drill it. Nice and simple. Now, when you do drill with any drill bit really on sheet metal, you sometimes get a little bit of material pushed through. Get a drill bit about twice the size of what you're using. So I've grabbed a 7mm drill bit, and I'm just going to turn that in there gently, and it'll take off the back. Be careful with your fingers on this part of the drill, it can be sharp. Okay, so a little bit of filing in the next clip just to tidy up these corners here. So that's 90 degrees. So I'm just going to bend those two now. Okay, so now it's there, we have it bent at 90 degrees at both ends. And so we're going to curve it now. So I have here in the vise a piece of wood. I've turned from the drawing, the radius here is supposed to be 45 degrees. So this piece of wood has been turned down on the lathe to just under 90. Again, because when we bend this around, there'll be a certain amount of elasticity in the metal that will want it to spring back out. So I'm putting the line that I had in the middle on the top, and I'm going to bend down around the sides. Again, with this metal, it's quite easy to do. And to bring it in. And when we get down to the bottom, or we can do it on the top if it's easier to see here, we can bring those up. As you can see, it's springing back out, so I'm going to use my hands to kind of force it in a bit more. Now I'm going to leave it at that at this stage, and when we get part 2 done, which is the shield that goes around, we'll be able to see much better whether we have a good enough shape. But that's the bones of that done. So that's part 1 completed. I'll catch you in the next video now for part 2.